Good morning, everyone. This is Ralph from Herald the Soon Coming King, broadcasting to you from the foothills of the Appalachians. Today is January 23rd. You'll see on the screen I've got just a picture of some ammunition. It's because today we're going to be talking about the dreams, visions, and the words the Lord has given me regarding war, specifically war, cyberwar, and invasion. And I want to start off to let you know that this is a hard word. I didn't post last week because I've just really been praying about this and trying to hear in my spirit the right way to put everything that's here. Remembering that in the last teaching we talked about judgment and wrath and God's purpose in judgment. But I want to open up with this scripture, Proverbs 24:3, also 27:12. A prudent man sees danger, takes refuge, but the simple keep going and they suffer for it. So I believe this is a word. These words are from the Lord to prepare us for what is coming. First, what's come to pass. And I'm going to give you the months and the dates of the dreams. I had 9 dreams, 1 vision, and 12 words over the last 6.5 years. And I think now is the time to share these things. And I've tried to group them together, speaking to very specific issues. First of all, what's come to pass. In March of 2018, I had a dream about a blue and yellow flag, and it was revolving around war. And when I looked up, as I thought about that over the next day or two after that dream, I looked up what nations had a blue and yellow flag, almost kind of gold looking, but it was blue and yellow. And of course, it was Ukraine. Also, in our state, it's California, but in terms of the nations, it was Ukraine. And that, again, is March of 2018. And I saw that war was coming to Ukraine in that dream. And of course, we know what's come to pass there. In May of 2017, I had a dream. It's one of the early dreams that the Lord began to give me. And it was a dream of a ragtag group of South American type troops. It was an invasion. Of course, knowing what's going on the border makes me wonder if that's what I was seeing, that this was a border invasion. And the troops that I also saw in May of 2017 were Asian troops, and in November of 2020 I saw African troops, and in April of 2020 I saw Chinese in South America that were poised for an invasion. So I had these multiple dreams of South American troops invading, Asian troops invading, African troops invading, and then specifically Chinese, which I know are also Asian, but very specifically were Chinese in South America poised for an invasion. So some of those may be the invasions that we are experiencing through our border crisis. It may be future invasions. I'm not 100% sure if it's both and or either or. I kind of got the sense that it's both and. But those are some of the dreams that I've had that were given prior to the events unfolding that have come to pass as we sit here in 2024. Also, that there's a spirit of war. I think there's a spirit of war that's going on in the world. We see that in all the different things that, as we take in the news around the globe, that there's a spirit of war that seems to be pervasive. Specifically, in June of 2017, I had a dream of the countries of the world signing up for war. They were signing articles of war. There were a few that tried not to do that, but ultimately were forced to sign up for war. In February of 2021, I saw this beast. He was a beast of war. And the warning in that was that he was coming, that he had these chains that were on him, and as he began to move forward, those chains fell off. So the chains, I kind of got the picture that it was things that restrained him. And as he picked up speed, those chains fell off even more quickly. So the dream was that this beast of war had been turned loose, and specifically it was a beast of war to the United States, not specifically to the world, but I saw it more in relation to the United States. So there's this spirit of war that we see throughout the world, obviously in the Russia and Ukraine, in the Middle East, threatenings in multiple places. There's been a lot of dreams and words that the Lord has given me about the warning of war coming, specifically to the United States. In April of 2020, He said very specifically that war is coming, but not quite the way that I would think. I didn't know what that meant, but that it wasn't coming the way that I thought it would come. In September of 2020, that war was coming and that nuclear devices would be used. How many, where, not sure, but I did see that, and specifically that nuclear devices were used. In December of that same year, there was these bells and alarms that went off in the dream, right? They just started going that the attack is coming. And the war had been, a wall had been breached, and that the communications had been jammed as the wall was breached and that the attack came. In January of 2021, that sudden destruction was coming to the United States. I saw that it was very quick and very sudden. In April of 2021, that war was the next big event, that it was a war of significance, but it was the next big event, on the clock for the United States. In October of 2022, there was these troop movements that were up north, and that attack was imminent. That there was these horsemen that were spread on the horizon. As I looked and I saw that there was these horsemen spread on the horizon. Were they the four horsemen? I can't tell you how many I saw. It wasn't that I was clear that it was horsemen like across the horizon, or were there like the four horsemen, on the horizon. I don't know, but there were horsemen that were spread on the horizon. So I leaned to the fact that there were, multiples, and that war and attack was coming. In that same month, that a cyber attack was specifically shown to me, and it was the word that came to me, this is a word, not a dream, that the cyber attack was in Warwick, Rhode Island. I don't know if it was the first cyber attack, or if it was a significant cyber attack, but that it was a cyber attack that was obviously of some kind of significance in Warwick, Rhode Island. In April of 2020, a cyber attack war begins. That was the word that I had from the Lord. And it was tied to these three deaths. I got the sense that these three deaths needed to occur before that cyber war would begin. Would it begin in earnest? Not that it doesn't go on even today. There's, cyber warfare going on, but this was a very specific event. And the three that needed to pass were Queen Elizabeth, who, as we know, has already passed, and I was given this in 2020. She passed subsequent to that. Jimmy Carter, who is close to death. He's in a place where he could die at any moment. And Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson, of course, has been taken out of his position, but at the time, in 2020, he was in his position as Prime Minister. So I took that as a true death. We'll see. Maybe it was death of his political career. I'm not trying to make this fit. It's just that I saw these three deaths, and then the cyber war would begin. In April of 2022, I began to see the next thing that the Lord told me, not only these warnings that war was coming, but that the war would occur in phases. The first phase being pandemic, and of course, by that time, the pandemic had already broken, so that was kind of post-understanding. But I also got a sense there could be another pandemic that was coming. So that has been and could be the next phase of war. But then cyber attack was the next. And so given the fact that we've had the pandemic and that I felt that cyber attack was coming, to me, the cyber attack really is the next phase. So that one has already occurred. And then invasion. An invasion would occur. And I got that in April of 2022. In November of 2019, I saw in a dream, I was waiting in a car for someone, and we were sitting at a town that I knew very well, one that I actually had lived in previously, and we were waiting for the invasion. We were like spotters. We were like watching for, or not necessarily spies, but watching for the first indications of invasion. And we saw it. We were able to see the invasion beginning to come into that city. In January of this year, I felt that heard the Lord say, a storm is coming, destruction is coming, and it can't be stopped. There would be power lost, property damage, people displaced, lives lost, and then there was confusion and grief. And that was in January of this year. And then finally, in August of 2019, that massive destruction comes across the United States. Towns and the countryside were all damaged, and it spreads state by state. So these are some of the dreams and words and one vision that the Lord gave me regarding war, invasion. And so as I summarize that, and I speak it out here, the first question that comes to mind, of course, is timing. When is the timing? And I believe that the Lord is having me share this now because it wasn't going to occur prior to the astronomical event that occurs in April of this year, the solar eclipse that puts the X over the United States, and with the partial one in October creates the symbol for God in the Hebraic pictorial aspect and alphabetical aspect of the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph. And so I believe it's God's stamp that there's judgment coming, right, as I said earlier. And I believe that war is coming. So is it that there's war in 2024? I don't know that specifically. I just believe that it wasn't going to occur before April of this year and can occur sometime in the near future. Now, personally, because I believe the Lord's coming is relatively soon, I don't see that going out more than a couple of years, right? So, and it's not to put a time frame on it. It's just to say, if it's not happening this year, it's happening in the next few years, right? 24, maybe through 27 as an example. But I mean, I'm talking about that kind of time, not 10, 20 years. I'm talking, 1, 2, or 3 years. But it wasn't going to occur until April of this year. And I see that both in an invasion way. There is a civil war aspect to that, and I believe that's going on because of the divisions in the country. I will be speaking to that more specifically, some dreams the Lord has given me about, even civil war in the country. I don't know if that'll be the next one, or if we'll talk about some of the astronomical signs the Lord has shown me, regarding the kind of signs and events of what's coming. It's going to be one or the other that we'll talk about in the next one. So I want to end up then with how I started, and that is the scripture that was in Proverbs 24:3, that a prudent man sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple keep going and suffer for it. And that was also 27:12, which is almost verbatim in the same way. And I think that as we're looking for, where do we take refuge? Our refuge, of course, is in the Lord. There may be some practical expression of taking refuge for sure. And I would leave that to each and every individual as you're pressing into your relationship with the Lord, where, when, and how you might do that. But it's very clear that we need not to be unaware of the things that are coming, and then be aware that our refuge is in the Lord. That it is in Him, even as I shared out of Proverbs 1 at the very beginning, that in verse 33, that those who are leaning into the Lord, those who are watching, He's going to protect us on every level, right? Spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And I believe that is true as His judgment falls on the United States. So take that. I ask that you be prayerful, that you ask the Lord for yourself. What does that mean? Test it in your own spirit. Let God speak to you in whatever way that He would. I just wanted to share those things, not trying to draw too many conclusions beyond what the Lord has shown me. And that is that war is coming, invasion is coming, cyberwar is coming. I'm not sure 100% of that order, although I've given you some indication of which I think that order occurs. And then we'll see where the United States stands, on the world stage. But with that, let's keep our faith and our hope and our assurance in Him. And remember to look up, for His redemption draws near.